Hi, everyone. My name is Danny, and I'm a Womenswear Strategist here at Fashion Snoops. Welcome to another edition of our Fireside Streams, where we host discussions between the FS team and a broad range of innovators from the zeitgeist, from macro thinkers and artists to change makers and overall industry disruptors. So today we are thrilled to welcome Maria O'Sullivan Abeyratne, adaptive fashion designer, disability and inclusion advocate, and the CEO and founder of Adaptista, the inclusive marketplace, which we'll be talking about with her today. So Adaptista recently launched with much excitement across the industry as a high-end e-commerce shopping platform that aims to make the collective worlds of fashion, from women's, men's, and gender-inclusive items, as well as beauty, accessories, and home products, more accessible and inclusive of everyone. So with this increasing demand amongst consumers for a more inclusive fashion industry, from an increase in diverse representation and visibility of historically marginalized groups to the people that are hired within leadership roles, as well as the consumers that are being prioritized during product development, this shift is quickly taking place globally, and will continue to skyrocket through the next few years. And here at FS, we'll be tracking this very closely. So Maria, we are so glad that you're here, and congratulations on a successful launch of Adaptista. So for our first question to begin, can you tell us a little bit about the initial idea that sparked the creation of Adaptista?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so grateful that you're highlighting about disability and inclusion. It's so important. So Adaptista started in 2019. Well, it started before that. I was diagnosed with a rare form of spinal arthritis in 2015, and went from doing a triathlon and competing on the Irish dressage team and being super sporty to not being able to touch my toes. So I personally know from experience, the challenges, and I also have several disabled members in my family. So I grew up seeing the issues around disability and the problems with fashion. And then when I was getting married to my wonderful husband and the co-founder John in 2019, I couldn't find a wedding dress that I could wear that was, kind of mid-price, that was comfortable and that I could don and doff easily, because there's issues around, trying to tie it and just being comfortable and enjoying the day. So from that, I went forward and I went back. My background is law. I went back to study fashion design. And from there, I started researching more, and realizing that there's such a real missing link in the industry with regards to adaptive fashion or inclusive fashion. And that radically needed to be changed. So why not just get off my chair and do it myself? So that's how Adaptista was started.
Thank you for sharing that, Maria. And again, it's beautiful to hear how often our personal experiences or challenges in life are really the fuel that can propel a new business idea and to bring it out into the world. And again, just gives everybody kind of hope and inspiration in their own lives to be inspired by things that happen to them or the situations that they're in, to be creative or start something fresh and new. So again, a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that with us. And so in terms,
just to say, there's no age limit. You can always go back and study. Never limit yourself to saying, oh, I can't do it, I'm too old. I'm 40 something. And don't limit yourself. So anyone watching, please go back and do what you want to do, what you're passionate about.
Maria, that's such a good point and a key point of advice, because I'll say also, to share personally, I made a career shift at 33. After having a 10-year career in marketing and social media, I moved into fashion trend forecasting, and took courses and studied as well. So again, as you said, I think that there's always time and a chance to switch up. And, the non-linear path is always the most inspiring, I think. So yeah, that's a great piece of advice. But in terms of the business beginning to take shape, Can you walk us through a bit about your buying process and the brands that you partner with? What are those kind of key pillars and values from a brand perspective and also from a personal perspective that you prioritize when putting together the retail experience of selling on Adaptista?
So the most important thing for us, and something we do with every single brand, is we look at the vision of the brands that we're speaking to, and we make sure that it's a two-way conversation with them, and see that our visions align, that they're equally as passionate about diversity and inclusion as we are. And often the brands are afraid or scared. They're afraid of learning new language, or catering to a group that, or a community that they have no experience in. And we're hand holding them and showing them that with our help you can do this. It's fine. We'll support you as much as we can, so that they can then even go further with their own visions and create even more inclusive products, or in more inclusive design. And that's across not only the fields of fashion, but also with art, film, everything. There's such a broad range of creativity that can be born through conversation. So that's our main focus, is the vision. And then we're always, with regards to products, we look at beautiful products that are we call them accidentally adaptive, which is products that aren't made for people with disabilities, but actually accidentally end up working very well for people with various disabilities, or for certain types of disability. So we try to find and support the brands in showing them that actually some of the stuff that they already have works really well, and they might have no idea. I went through a very famous international brand recently through their site, and they had 1,300 products approximately on their site. And within those 1,300 products, there was just under about 950 of the products were actually useful for people with different disabilities. And they had no idea that they had this whole section, of products that could, be open to a whole new market. And because they've never advertised to people within the disabled community also might not be familiar with their brand. So it's a two-way thing. So that's where Adaptista comes in to handhold and support with both language and products, and showing them that, this is possible. Keep doing more of that through, positive reinforcement. This is amazing what you're doing. Do more of that. It's great. And then with positive reinforcement, it just makes people remember. When you were in school, if you got a positive feedback from your teacher, you would always remember that positive feedback. So it's the same thing with brands. No matter how big the brand is, no matter how small the brand is, if they have positive feedback, it'll stay with them. It's a positive experience that they'll always remember. So we want to support that in any way we can.
Absolutely. And going back to, just having that positive experience and that positive reinforcement that you're sharing with these brands or companies that you're working with, and always remembering that, and then feeling like they can really, work within this new space that they may not know about. But if they have the support of a company like Adaptista to kind of navigate a new landscape, and feeling like they can really jump into it and be a support to the community of people with disabilities, they're that much more likely to do it. And I think and then also, that positivity, not only in terms of the support that you're giving to these brands, but also just trickles down into your website experience, your social media experience, and your consumers can start to feel that. I mean, I can feel that just by visiting any of the Adaptista social media or digital channels across the board. I can. And I think, that brings me to a question of, your first initial editorial photo shoot as part of the launch of Adaptista was fantastic. And, we wanted to hear a little bit more about, your plans for content creation and editorial to further expand that diverse representation of all kinds of people, and your future plans with that.
Yeah, thank you so much. We were so proud of it. We worked so hard, and it was just as lockdown was beginning to hit hard around Christmas that we did that photo shoot. So it was a very stressful situation. We had a few dropouts from COVID actually on the day. But yeah, we worked for several months with creative direction with Jasmine Da Silva. She does that beautiful, colorful, vision that she has, and then with the aims that I wanted to create, the feeling in an area that disability has never been represented in before. So we went down along the lines of kind of 1950s glamour. So with that, we went through and modernized it with her lovely vision of, kind of the representation of different types of beauty. And then we went on and we worked with Sean O'Donnell, who is the stylist, Judith Florenciano, who is the hairdresser, Shona was the makeup artist. So we had a great team. And then going forward, we plan to do, the aim is to do many more editorial shoots with the same theme, pushing the boundaries, always pushing the boundaries on inclusive, content, new ideas, and trying to change the narrative on how disabled people are viewed. Like, personally, I don't believe that there should be a difference between a disabled model and an able-bodied model, and they should be seen the exact same, with the same skill sets, the same, the same beautiful imagery. So that's what we plan to do. We just need to keep going forward. We are obviously just a startup, and we're trying our hardest, and it's a lot of hard work as a startup, but as we grow, we have a lot more plans ahead with content.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing it, and we know and understand, the challenges of starting, a new business and taking time, but, we'll be waiting, to see the next editorial shoot that you kind of put out there and share with the world. Because again, we really enjoyed that first one. And with that, thinking about it from a marketing perspective and really, doing those photo shoots and sharing them digitally in order to bring people to the Adaptista site, there was another question in regards to just the consumer experience in regards to visiting Adaptista. And we see that you worked closely with inclusive software development experts, as well as a consumer psychologist and a chief behavioral officer to best design your website to be inclusive of and accessible to all types of customers. So I find this incredibly fascinating and beautiful to see, and really a nice template for other, businesses to really see and take a look at when they're building a new website, or building a website for the first time, or revamping their existing websites to be more accessible for all. So what was that experience like of working alongside those experts, and how did that design continue to take shape?
It's really exciting because, again, with some of the experts, they had no experience in, accessibility. So it opened up so many conversations and interesting scenarios. It did show us, we had aimed to be AAA accessible, WCAG AAA accessible, but sadly we couldn't reach that because the technology doesn't exist to make things as accessible as possible, unfortunately, with regards to apps and different tech. So but we found Glaze, who worked their socks off, bless them, and created this incredible site. It's really beautiful, we love it. And we keep testing the accessibility. We've actually just done another retest 2 days ago, and we are currently AA standard WCAG 2.1. And we want to keep pushing. So we're going to keep pushing every month to see if we can find new technologies to make it more accessible. And then with regards to even from our designers, so the person who designed the site, Olivia, she did this incredible design, and she worked really hard with looking at synesthesia, the contrast that's needed for websites, and even the logo that she created for us. It's the little Sigma logo at the end of our A, at the end of our name. So we chose that. It's the population deviation sigma, which is the point, a mathematical point between two markers, and it stands for everything between those 2 points. So it was an inclusive logo that we just loved and went for. And then working with Kate, the Chief Behavioural Officer, we worked on community, understanding the community, understanding the needs, speaking to people within the community, and just trying to better understand how we can keep pushing. We've so many ideas for the future on what we, obviously, you know, financially, we would, you know, that causes restrictions, but we've so many plans for the future of things that we've discovered that are needed, and we're so excited that we will be doing those at some point. But the other thing is we're also helping all of our brands to become more accessible through support, and we're helping them with their accessibility, helping them with accessibility statements and testing. And we plan to continue to do that. And we just want to make the world a more equal place for everybody, which it's 2022, it really should be by now. It's a shame.
Right. It's a long time coming indeed. And like I said in the beginning, I think it's only going to accelerate with time, and hopefully we can get there sooner rather than later. But I think, you know, we're making steps along the way, sometimes maybe considered baby steps, but ultimately I think that we're on the road and we're on the journey, and we have an ideal future in our mind's eye of what that could look like and the potential of that. And I think that Adaptista is providing that space for people of the possibility of what that could look like.
Well, disability, there's 1.8 billion people in the world with disabilities, and now that's disabilities of all kinds. But one of the most shocking figures that really surprised me, no matter how many times I hear it or say it, is every 30 seconds in the world, there's a lower limb amputation. So that's over 1 million people a year, but every 30 seconds. So imagine how many people have, while we're talking, have had a lower limb amputation and have become disabled. And that's incredibly just through diabetes. So, you know, that's one tiny fraction. So you can imagine that, you know, and with the aging population and with long COVID, you know, there's so much opportunity out there, and people are starting to realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that opportunity, of course, it presents a business opportunity for you know, new businesses and existing businesses, but ultimately, you know, not only a business opportunity, but an opportunity to really be supportive to a community that is a very large community that really truly needs that support and needs those items that are specific to them.
It's a historically forgotten community, always has been, and Adaptista is trying to push it to the forefront, where instead of being forgotten, that we're just a normal part of the everyday language of fashion, and it shouldn't be an othering. There shouldn't be a them and us, and that's why we look at inclusive fashion, so that everybody can access it. And we also look at, you know, transgender clothing is something we're very passionate about, which is also actually adaptive, as transgender women have longer torsos, so they often need, you know, different fit. So yeah, it's the world is definitely, through social media, becoming more inclusive, and it's really exciting to see that. And we just hope we can encourage as many. We're always looking to speak to new collaborators, we're looking to speak to new creatives, and encourage as many people with us as we can, and support everyone as much as we can.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can definitely feel that. And it's beautiful to hear. And, you know, with that, also in terms of the future, can you give us a little sneak peek into maybe some future plans? Obviously, I don't want to put you too much on the spot. You know, it's good to keep things a little bit behind the curtain, especially if they're still in the works. But just like a little bit of, like, you know, the future plans. I know that you talked about, you know, being able to like work on just developing that technology that's needed in order to make the website that much more accessible. But is there anything else that you kind of have, you know, in your back pocket, so to speak?
Gosh, where do I start? Yeah, so the more recent thing, the closest things that we're looking at is obviously we have our own line, which will be coming out hopefully in early spring 2023, which is a line of evening wear and wedding dresses after my experience. And I'm really excited about that. We have an international patent at the moment, which we're trying to put through. So fingers crossed if that works. We want to make that patent open for other brands to use so that they can collaborate with us and create some really exciting, and when the, please God, if the patent comes out, you'll see it's a new way of, it'll revolutionize the sustainability side of it as well. So we're very excited about that. Thank you to Jason Tang, our IP lawyer, so he's working really hard. And then also we're looking at so the possibilities around those body measuring for people with various disabilities. So, you know, when you can go shopping and do digital measuring, it doesn't actually exist at the moment for people with lymphedema or limb difference, or people with, you know, dwarfism or achondroplasia. It doesn't actually exist that you can have body measuring done at the moment, digital body measuring. So that's something we'd love to explore as well. So any collaborators out there, if they want to work with us on that, we'd be very excited. And yeah, we just want to keep growing the community and just keep, you know, challenging the status quo of what it is at the moment. And we are, personally, I believe that the only way to change that is through two things, and that's foundationally through two things. And that's, one is education. So it's got to be through education that, you know, design students and creative students are, and even technology students are becoming more aware of the need for accessibility. So we're actually working with some leading creative universities at the moment, which is very exciting. And we're also going to, the other side of it is having people with disabilities working within the fashion industry. So previously they've never been able to access jobs or training, so they've never been brave enough to attempt to go down and study things like fashion design or digital fashion. So we're actually also working with the British Academy of Fashion Design. We're sponsoring a student, a disabled student, to study with them and push them towards a career within the industry. Because only by having peers that you work with and learning more through experience, then that kind of othering and fear of the unknown, that's the only way it's going to disappear for good, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. So many exciting plans to look forward to for you and Adaptista as a whole. And, you know, I think, you know, in terms of wrapping up, this may go off a little bit of the script, but I think that you spoke about this a bit as well. What's, you know, just a piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's really looking to kind of jump into this new era for the industry in terms of inclusivity and accessibility, and really catering to this community of people that's historically been marginalized? And whether it's, you know, a new fashion student or an existing business leader who wants to expand their business a little bit more, what would you say to them?
So I'd always say, first and foremost, is speak to the people that you want to design for. That's the most important thing, because without that, you need the input. You don't create something for someone that you have no experience with. And, you know, we already do some consulting with some big brands. And, you know, I would say I always have an open door policy. If anyone ever just wants to ask a question, they can always contact me, you know, obviously free of charge. They're always welcome, as long as we can make people think more and consider more about disability and inclusion and accessibility. Then, you know, please come and ask us. We'll support in any way we can. And the other thing I would say is just keep thinking outside of the box, keep pushing boundaries, keep trying to think of ways around creating new and exciting designs, and just, you know, keep pushing on. And the other thing, as we spoke earlier, is go back and learn new things, explore new things. And, you know, conversations open up so many creative doorways, and collaboration, just, you know, ideas will spark. You'll get so many wonderful, exciting ideas from that. And it's only through collaboration really that these things, these wonderful ideas are born. So yeah, that would be my best advice.
Yes, great advice. And to your last point, I'll say just even spending this time with you, this short time with you, and hearing more about who you are and your journey has filled me with so much creative juices and, you know, just excitement about the future of inclusivity within the fashion industry. So thank you, truly. And I know that the rest of the FS team will feel the same exact way, and our, you know, just global surrounding community of people who tune into our content across social and digital platforms, etc., which we'll be sharing this video for. So again, just a big thank you. And, you know, as at FS, we're a big heart-led company. You know, the content that we create and the decisions that we make always come from a heart-led place. And I can see that you also come from that place, and it's beautiful to see that, and we appreciate you taking the time and connecting with us today, and we will definitely keep in touch for sure.
Thank you. And it's only down to people like you that are actually speaking about this. It's only going to change with people like you that are actually going to highlight this issue. So thank you so much. And an amusing fact, it's actually my wedding anniversary today, the day that we're filming this. So Adaptista officially started today. Yay. In 2019.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
So it was meant to be. We were meant to speak today.
I completely agree. And that's very FS as well, for it to be so apropos for today. Well, again, thank you again, and we'll keep in touch. And everyone who tuned in, thank you so much for tuning into our Fireside stream today, and we will connect with you again soon.